Welcome everyone to the Friday Tech Talk, and we are happy to have our guest today, Will Mitcheson, and
Mitcheson,
he
yep.
is a graduate of the Tech. Yeah, and he is a graduate of the Tech Academy, and he's gone to work for Microsoft using C# and .NET, and he worked in Azure services, and he currently works for as a DevOps engineer for First American. And he's going to talk about what he wished he had known before entering the tech field. So with that, go ahead, Will, take it away.
All right. Well, I've been involved in computers most of my life. So, from the 80s, I'm a lot older than most of you guys, I'm sure. But, you know, it's, I've pretty much maintained one foot in the computer world most of my life. Mid 90s, worked for a web hosting company, writing scripts and doing a lot of Unix, Linux type stuff. 2000s, same thing. I was doing web development, and but at the same time working in the music industry, which was I was a sound engineer plus road manager for almost 22 years, and kind of decided about 10 years ago I didn't want to be on the road anymore. Wanted a kind of more stable job, stable career. Uh, Looked into getting into the computer industry again since that's been something I've done most of my life, but couldn't really break in. Web design is there's a million web designers out there, and so just worked regular jobs until till right about when COVID happened, and I actually one of the jobs I was doing was security, and right across the street I'd see the big billboard because the Tech Academy was right across the street from where I worked. And so one day I just walked in there and talked to them. Nothing happened at that point, but about a year later during COVID, that's when I went to school and actually did the course for C#. And yeah, the school was great. Um, didn't know I knew some C++, didn't know much about C#, learned a ton. And but of course, the world started picking back up right after, after I graduated. And so getting into the industry was one of the big question marks, and how I would do it. Now that I've graduated, I have a certificate, I know a lot. Um, but of course, the people at the school were great and helped me, refine my resume. Um, helped me with doing job searches and things like that. Um, but it wasn't until, I actually got out of it. I did get a contract. I worked about 2 months. It was just a 2 month contract to kind of update .NET application, and that was pretty cool. Kind of, first mark on my resume that I could actually put with .NET. But what I did learn is that recruiters and contract hires are kind of your friend. That is literally how the first piece of advice I could give would be to definitely pay for the LinkedIn, their advanced subscription service or whatever, because as soon as I did that, I was contacted by a million recruiters, like legitimate recruiters. And there was just one that I got in touch with, and it was just the right person, the right time, and they got me a contract with Microsoft, which was about almost 2 years. And then I was supposed to go to hire, but of course there was the layoffs they did last year. At the beginning of the year, it was like 20,000 people they laid off, and so they opted not to hire me. And once again, that same recruiter quickly found me another company, with First American, and it's been I'm happier than I've ever been as far as work goes. I love my job right now. Plus, I'm actually working with code where Microsoft was more. Um, app management, customer service, things like that. Where this is actually, I'm actually a DevOps engineer, which is, we're kind of 1 foot in between development and operations. And so, we have several thousand servers in the cloud on Microsoft. And that was actually why I got this job so quickly, is because I had all the Azure experience. And so First American thought I'd be a perfect person because, I had a lot of experience with Azure and the Azure products, and I could navigate that. Plus, if we had issues and need to open up a case, which we do all the time, I can easily communicate our issues where I hear some of the other guys that, don't understand how to navigate the Microsoft landscape as far as support goes. So it's been good. It's definitely a challenging job, but a really fun job. I love coming to work every single day. It's the most fun I've ever had in a job. Um, but yeah, as far as advice goes, LinkedIn is your friend. Um, Finding recruiters is a good way to get, because everyone asks, well, how, if you don't have experience, how do you get experience? Like, that's the biggest question. And of course I had that same thought. And the question, I mean, the answer is just finding that first job. Just take it. If it's a short contract, take it, add it to your resume, and then as your resume looks a little bit better, you're going to get that good job, and it will happen. So that's sort of the best advice I can give you. um and I wasn't getting a lot of responses with LinkedIn, but once I signed up for that subscription service, it just was on fire. I was talking to people every single day. So that's actually the best advice I could give. And yeah, so
No, that's cool, Will. And I wasn't sure about LinkedIn and their paid service. It used to be they said that it would definitely give you more options,
yeah,
but you say that they were communicating with you a lot more
yeah.
after you signed up for that.
With the paid service, you get direct communication. It's like a chat kind of thing. And instead of just getting hits on your page or whatever, kind of like social media, your inbox will start filling up with people. And you gotta weed through. There's a lot of stuff that, obviously they're telling you they need a senior developer and stuff like that. And if you're not, of course, it's, you can kind of bypass those. But there's a lot of legitimate recruiters out there. And the interesting thing is one of my teammates started 2 months after me, had a very similar experience as mine. He graduated from a boot camp, and then did a contract for a company that was like a year long or so, and then got hired for First American. Same thing, and it was the same exact situation where he was on LinkedIn, did the paid service, and then found a recruiter, and it was actually the same recruiter as mine. It was the same company, recruitment company. They're out of Atlanta, Georgia, but yeah, I guess it's kind of the norm. I've talked to a few other people that are, had similar stories. So it's definitely, I mean, you can cancel at any time. I think I only had that I only paid for 2 months before I got the job at Microsoft. And of course I downgraded the subscription to regular again after that. And then I've just had a good relationship with my recruiter. That's one of the key things, because their job is to find you work, because they make money when you work. So as long as you have a desire to work hard, if your contract ends and they don't hire you, then your contractor is going to find another good job. So that's kind of a crucial thing, is finding a good contractor and a good hire, a good contracting company. So the company I work for is Insight Global. And so this one actually was a contract, but it was a contract to hire. So there was that carrot at the end of there that wasn't just going to be like a contract renewal. So I should be converted to full time with First American either this month or next month. So my hire date's coming up, which is great. Microsoft was kind of like, well, there's the option to hire at the end, but it wasn't like a direct contract to hire, where this one was explicit in the contract that it's a contract to hire, which is good. And so as long as I did my job, so yeah. But yeah, LinkedIn definitely I saw the improvement. There was way more um, direct contact with recruiters, people that are just hiring for companies, like the in company recruiters, plus the recruitment companies. And so that was definitely the crucial piece, was actually, spending, it's not that expensive, spending a few bucks, but the benefits were great, definitely.
Yeah, and what did that what is it, $30 a month for the premium on LinkedIn?
I think it was like 20, 25 or something like that. It wasn't too much, and like I said, I only had it for a couple months, and then
Yeah.
I canceled it as soon as I got a job. So
Funny,
it's not
funny
like,
how that works.
I'm sure it's what everyone does, right? Like, there's no sense in spending money on a subscription service if you're working, right? So
Yeah, no, it's good advice there. And the premium, I mean, it's the cost of a Netflix subscription per month,
yeah, pretty
and
much,
it can really boost your job search after you graduate.
definitely.
Now, what was the first job that you had after graduating? Was it a contract job or was it Microsoft? And
It was
Microsoft is contract too, I understand.
it was actually, I got the job through the school, but it was just a word of mouth thing, like, oh, check this out or talk to this person. And it was actually this artist down in McMinnville, and her, I think it was her brother designed the site, but he didn't have time to do this maintenance stuff, and so they just wanted to hire someone temporarily. So it was like a 2-month contract. But it was my foot in somewhere doing that, doing actual work with .NET, and I took it. I jumped right on it. So, but it was temporary 2-month contract, and it wasn't. It was like a month after that contract is when I actually got. I linked up with Insight Global, which is the contracting company that got me a job at Microsoft. So it was pretty quick, and you have to be really relentless. Of course, you're going to talk to a million people before you get that first interview, and then the it was a nail biter going through the interview process with Microsoft. I'm like, this is Microsoft, like this this is like the big time, right? And if my first real job was with Microsoft, I'm gonna freak out. And by the third interview, you're gonna go through a lot of interviews. They're really tense. They're gonna ask you a lot of questions that you probably don't have answers to. And I just, another job that your recruiter is going to do for you is going to prep you for these interviews. And one of the biggest advices with that is, if you don't know, just tell them you don't know. Like, that's, don't don't try to make something up, and or try to BS your way around it, And there was quite a few things I had no idea about. Like, they were asking me a lot of networking questions, and as far as modern networking, like, my knowledge of networking was like 98, 97. Things have changed as far as networking goes, especially cloud networking, and getting into a cloud environment from office environments and things like that is a big change. And so, but I guess they liked me because I was very willing to learn. I had enough experience that I think that they thought that they could mold me into what they needed. And of course, the Microsoft training is almost 3 months. It's like 2.5 months, and you get a Microsoft certification out of that. So it's like, that's like a school in itself. And 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 I walked into that not knowing really anything about Azure, except for what of course, I messed around with it, started an Azure account, and built web apps and things like that, just to to see if, how it works. But, I was definitely, my knowledge was probably 10% of what it was when I walked out the door at the end of that contract, that's for sure. So it's, they're going to teach you. They're going to, once you get that first job, they're going to teach you everything you need to know. And of course, when I came into First American, their stuff is very, I mean, it's data and analytics, it's big data, so we handle kind of worldwide mortgage data, mortgage imagery, all the scans of all the documents in the entire world, pretty much, with that has to do with housing. Our servers and handle it all, and we have huge data banks and things like that. And so I didn't know much about that stuff, and luckily, when you're going to get taught and you're going to learn, and that's kind of good. You got to expect that, right? You're not going to come in knowing everything, not until you get to that like really senior level or whatever. But yeah, definitely, um just making it through that interview process it was probably the toughest thing, I think. But I was really happy when they told me I got the job, definitely. So I'm like, Microsoft, like, so. But it was definitely the start of my adventure. And it's good to be now in a job where I think that I'm not going to leave this job. I'm going to keep this one. And one of the biggest indicators to me was when I was going through the interview process for this job, which was 3 or 4 interviews. One of the questions I asked was, how long have you been with the company? I was asking the people, my direct manager, the director, VP, and everyone I work with has been with the company between 15 and 30 years. There's no new people. I was like the first new guy. And then of course my other teammate came in after me a couple months, kind of with the same level of experience as I do. But everyone else has been with the company 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. And when you see that, you're in a good job, because people are gonna, they're staying. It's not Microsoft. It was interesting, but I think the longest, not non-management, but like the longest like worker like myself, I think that I had met was like 5 years. And so that's kind of a, if that's an indicator of the difference between a good company and an okay company, I think that's it, is how long have your coworkers been working. And everybody with First American has been with the company forever, or got eaten up, like their company got eaten by First American. So it's like, mergers and stuff like that, and they were with their other company and didn't leave after they got merged with First American. And that's another good thing, because they realized that this is a good company too. So yeah, I don't have a ton more advice, but those are some good points, I guess.
Yeah, no, those are those are really good points. And going to work for, one of the FANG companies, that's it's a really good experience. You're going to learn a lot, and it is something that's going to be on your resume. It's going to help you with any other job you get after that. But
Definitely.
they have tens of thousands of employees at the FANG
Yeah.
companies. And Microsoft, it used to be, I mean, I thought I heard 20 to 30,000. It's probably more. Maybe it's
Yeah.
less with the layoffs they did, but I mean, it's huge. So, but really good experience. But you get to take that experience, go into another company that's, it's like you said, they have a lot of customers, but to see, obviously, it's a lot smaller company compared to Microsoft.
Yeah. It actually, First American's the third biggest buyer of Azure products from Microsoft in the world.
Uh,
So, we're up there with like American Airlines, and First American's a big company, but not as big as Microsoft, of course. They kind of make the world go round. So, but
yeah.
and we actually have a bunch of AWS products as well that we use. But that the other side of my team works with all the AWS stuff. I prefer Azure myself, but there's other, and they're actually starting to get into Google products as well, which I'm actually volunteering to kind of take on. I'd like to at least be a subject matter expert and in any of the Google Cloud stuff because it's kind of new. It's exciting. We're going to be using that for artificial intelligence and analytics. And I think that that's one thing that Google Cloud definitely can offer that's kind of future proof, I guess. They seem to be cutting edge on all that stuff. Um, and so yeah, it's pretty well rounded what we're doing, and it's there's a lot going on in this company, that's for sure. And I'm only one business unit. My team is only part of one business unit. There's like 8 or 9, and we're worldwide. So I work hand in hand with people from India and um, and actually South America as well. That are actually first American employees. So we got people from all around the world that are working, and it's pretty cool. It's a cool environment. Everyone's really cool in the company. Like that's another thing is that they're just so nice. Everybody's been so welcoming and helpful, and they really want to see me succeed, which is just awesome. I've never felt so bonded with the people I work with. My team's really tight, and even though we're not sitting in the same room, it's still, we're all pretty close already. So it's cool. It's a really fun
Nice.
environment to work in.
Yeah, and you feel appreciated, so that's a big thing.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah. And they give you responsibility, and it's how you handle it. You take it and just run with it, and I like those kind of challenges. So it's like, hey, if you can figure out a way to do this, and I'm all over it. I'll spend 8 hours just reading through docs just so I can figure out something, just so I
yeah,
can present it to everybody and be like, hey, I figured this out. Let's do this. And
yeah.
it's fun. It's a really fun environment.
Cool. No, that's awesome, and we are really happy for you, Will.
Thank you.
Now with and it's interesting to hear about the cloud service comp or the cloud services that are offered. Your company's
Hmm.
using both Azure and AWS,
Hmm.
and they're the top cloud services in the world. But then Google's trying to make inroads. They have been for a while. They've always been kind of
Yeah.
number three, but it's interesting to hear that they're really kind of pushing to offer their cloud service to companies.
Yeah,
So
they're really trying to get in with us. So obviously, you
yeah,
look at a company that's a huge buyer of Microsoft, and you're like, hey, we offer these cool things, but the one thing that I think Google Cloud offers that AWS nor Microsoft offer is all that artificial intelligence stuff. They pretty much made their whole AI model available to Google Cloud, to their cloud services. And as far as like a big part of our company is analytics and just handling data and sorting it, organizing it, because we package it and sell it, right? So it's important to be able to analyze, package it together so it's a product you can sell. And the easiest way to do that, because of course none of us can just sift through all that data, right? And so the easiest way to do is with artificial intelligence. And we've been using Microsoft AI for a while, and it's just not as powerful as the Google Cloud one. So we have the Google teams coming to all the higher ups trying to smooge them and get them involved in
yeah,
that. And it's going to happen probably eventually in some capacity. But it's a
yeah,
big shift, and that's always when you start talking to companies about shift. As far as like shifting services somewhere, it's then it comes down to dollars, and
yeah,
big companies move kind of slow in that direction.
yeah. Well, it is big competition, both AWS and Azure, Microsoft and Amazon. We're trying to go for government contracts and the Pentagon contract like 2 or 3 years
Yeah,
ago. And
yeah,
there was a big competition there, and then Microsoft won, then Amazon sued, then they had to end up splitting the contract, but it was billions and
yeah,
billions of dollars that
yeah,
they made off that. Um,
yep,
and and that was kind of my next question too, is how much artificial intelligence is your company implementing? You say they use it through the cloud service. Um, I know ChatGPT is obviously the number one with just in general, but then Microsoft bought like majority share of OpenAI with ChatGPT.
yeah,
So
Yeah, I
now
heard
they've got
about
all
that.
they've got all Microsoft with Copilot has all of Chat GPT technology now. And it
Yep.
even says it if you go to Copilot, it says powered by Chat GPT 4.
Yep.
And then and now OpenAI, they're coming out with a search engine like Google's
Mm-hmm.
that
I heard
implements it.
about that. Yeah.
And so just all that competition in the different companies that are vying for the top spot.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And I'm just
Yeah, it
curious, your
definitely is.
company, like how much do you use OpenAI, say, like with your job daily or
Um,
artificial intelligence?
we we have Copilot in Visual Studio, so we can use it there. Um, what's funny is that there was some scripting I needed to do, and it was really kind of generic, and I would use ChatGPT to just give me the framework for the script, and then I use that a bunch. But as far as the data goes with our company, that's like a whole different team, and they're the ones that are trying to like implement the AI, and there's a whole AI development team that we have, and it's pretty extensive because we're our company deals with like 4 petabytes of data a year, like ingestion and sale, and so it's you're gonna have to use AI at some point or another. There's no way to like handle that much data without having something sitting there at the wheel, steering that data in the right direction. But yeah, that's like way outside my scope. I want to get more involved in it, and I think if the shift towards Google Cloud AI actually happens, I want to definitely have my foot in that. So I'm sticking my foot in there if I can, and I at least want to be part of that. And they welcome all that stuff. They're like, if there's anything you want to learn it. And so I figured that would kind of future proof my my job and my position, make myself more valuable, I guess. That's a very important thing you don't want to just fall into a groove or a rut and be like, okay, I carved this out for myself and I'm just going to stay here. That never works because companies change and things change, right? And so it's always good to be really proactive and at least looking forward into what technologies are going to be used more and more as time goes by. AI is definitely it. I'm not sure if I'm super happy about it, but it's what's happening. So might as well be part of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to like AI myself out of a job. That's I think a lot of programmers think that same thing. I think Copilot was kind of scary when it first popped out, and like, I mean, the thing practically writes your code for you, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
like how, if that's just the very 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 beginning of it. But no, there always needs to be someone pushing the button. There always needs to be. There's no way, especially with my operation side of my job. You know, I'm there's no way that we could automate those thousands of servers to the point where they're working flawlessly, especially when a lot of those machines are running legacy code. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be networking issues. There's always going to be a guy that needs to be there to help. When the crap kind of hits the fan. And it's the other side of my job too, is the operations side, which is fun, and I love it. And it's kind of like it's hard hitting rough work, like stuff goes wrong all the time, and we're pulling in developer teams, and we're jumping into servers, remoting into servers all day long. It's another part of my job is I do a lot of RDP into servers and do stuff. It's fun that way. I love that part of the job too. But yeah, and that's kind of a DevOps engineer is sort of the go between the developer end. I'm not writing application code, but I am writing. I'm creating apps and I'm creating scripts and I'm writing in PowerShell. I'm writing in C# to create automation applications. And so those things just streamline the applications that we're running, that the customers use. So it's an interesting job, and I love it because I'm learning both sides of that. I could go and become a network administrator if I wanted to. I've pretty much done all that networking stuff, or I could go and straight developer job if I wanted to. And so, but now that I'm seeing a lot of companies are using the DevOps model, which I think it uses the employees in a better way. That it's more rounded for everybody, so no one kind of gets pigeonholed into one spot or one job. Everybody kind of works together as a team to get whatever needs to be done. And so and our VP is really big into DevOps, the culture, the Scrum culture, sprints and Scrums and all that stuff. And so that was actually that was neat. The part of the C# course that I learned was about the DevOps culture. And then we worked a sprint when we did the little real live application afterwards, and that was cool because at least once I got into that environment, I'm like, oh, I know what this is, instead of like, oh, now I got to go learn what this is. So
Yeah.
that was great about the Tech Academy teaching me that part, because there's a lot of companies that are turning to it. It's a big culture environment.
Oh yeah. And the live project really does introduce you to that in a live sense, not just reading
Hmm.
about it. So you really get to see how it goes from,
Definitely.
from the story at the beginning to working on the story to resolving the story and finishing it. So
Yep.
and it
Yep.
keeps everything organized, keeps everybody focused on what they're on one specific task.
Yep.
And it is a great system for sure.
Yeah, I'm on a DevOps task board every single day, grabbing tasks, doing stuff. That's kind of part of what I do is that end. And there's always work to be done there. So, but it's neat. It's neat watching, our director create the the epics, and then breaking that all out into different jobs that go to different people and user stories and tasks and all that stuff, which I was really glad that I learned as much as I did with Tech Academy, that's for sure. Because it definitely wasn't all just a big mystery that I had to learn, from scratch. So it was cool because we actually did it in the live application part.
Yeah, no, that is really cool. And um now with just going back to when you finished with the academy, you said there's a recruiting company out of Georgia, Atlanta, that you were
Yeah,
using
Insight
or
Global.
currently are using. Oh, that is
Yeah.
Insight Global. Okay, that was my
Yes.
question. If that
Yep.
okay, 'cause, yeah, you said that was a contracting company. I wasn't sure if that was a recruiter also.
Yeah, it's like a recruitment company, and they
Yeah.
have a lot of clients that they work with, just all different companies around the country, and they just hire for them for different positions. First American's one of their bigger clients, and of course Microsoft was one of their clients too. So Microsoft tends to hire contractors first, than direct hires. It just helps them fill their workforce, I believe. So whereas First American, it's a little less. They like to hire direct, but they've been using kind of more of a contractor model a little bit, with at least within our department. But they're doing shorter contracts, and it's not like a contract, and then who knows what's going to happen in a year and a half or 2 years.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, definitely different kind of model, but yeah, Inside Global has been absolutely amazing. The recruiter Molly that I work with is just awesome. She's really cool. Like there was like a couple week turnaround between jobs. Once I found out I wasn't going to be hired on permanently with Microsoft, so um, you know they definitely have your best interest at heart. Finding a good contractor is tough. There's a lot out there, a lot of recruiters, but there, I think a lot of the recruiters are just casting big giant nets, and just hopefully grabbing a few people. Whereas I feel like Insight Global really, looks into the person. Like the interview I had with Molly, before they hired me on, or at least before they got me the job at Microsoft, was pretty intense. It was like going through a real interview, because she wanted to vet who I was, and what kind of job I'd be good for, and she found one, and it was pretty quick too. So that's it's definitely, I've never been in that contractor type situation before. I've always found my own jobs. And of course, if it's you got to go through interview, I'm going there and doing the interview. The contractor world was
Yeah,
was something I had never done before. And I've actually heard that, like, beforehand, which is not true. I heard, oh yeah, contract jobs are awful, and it's you're never going to get a real job if you're doing the contract work. No, that's not true. It's definitely, I look at it as it's experience. There's a possibility of getting hired, if you're good and your job really works out, there's a possibility of getting direct hired, and but the main thing is it's experience, and experience is important. That's
yeah,
you know trying to get on your way to being a senior developer versus just a junior, along with all the millions of other junior developers, just making yourself
yeah,
stand out, so it's easier to get work if you need to. But
yeah,
ultimately, you want to get into a job you're going to keep, and that's the most important thing, I think. And luckily, I think I found that. So
yeah.
it's nice when it happens.
Yeah, and a majority of our students do get hired for contract jobs initially, and it's the market's really shifted where companies, rather than hiring someone and going through the full hiring process,
Hmm.
there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of administration with that. When they
Yeah.
hire somebody as a contractor first, that's kind of that 3 month probationary period. It has turned from when you get hired, that's turned into a contract. So
Yep.
that three
Yep.
months or 6 months, they try, out, see if you're a good fit with the company. And then rather than having to, lay you off or fire you, they could just end the contract. So
Yep.
majority of the
Yep.
first, yeah, majority of the jobs that you get are going to be contract to start. And
Yes.
that's just the way it is now.
Yep. Just it's
Yeah.
a it kind of covers their rear end, I guess, and
Yeah.
make sure that their new hire is going to be, actually, it's going to work out. That's, I guess, that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes it easier for the company too, to
Definitely.
when they're
Definitely.
bringing on new employees.
Definitely.
Um, Now, did Insight Global, did they message you first or did you find them on LinkedIn?
Uh, Actually, I believe, God, that was a long time ago. I think Molly got in touch with me, and it was just, yeah, because I got a lot of people contacting me saying, "Hey, I'm doing this," or "Hey, I need this, I need that," and I'd always reply just to find out if it's legitimate, or you never know, right? So her and I just started talking, and then once I found out that they do hire from Microsoft, that was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna talk more with her. And then I just set up an interview with her, and then her and I just hit it off, on the call. It was great. And she's like, you know what? I think we can find you a position. So, it was just random, it's just you meet someone, and you hit it off, and you just do well in that interview, and it's just meant to happen. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I believe she did contact me first. I mean, there's an ocean of recruiters, so that's the toughest thing. But believe me, when you you start paying for that LinkedIn service, you're going to be contacted by a lot of people. And I think my email went out to a lot of those recruiter companies, because I still constantly get emails from recruiter companies, which I didn't
Yeah.
before. And so it's interesting how, that I don't know if LinkedIn sold my email address or whatever, but at any rate, I think if the Insight Global didn't work out anymore, or I was looking just straight up looking for another job, it wouldn't be too hard for me to find another recruiter. And
Yeah.
because I'm just constantly, I have an email account just set up for that kind of stuff, and it's always getting new emails from recruiters.
Yeah. Well, and I think if somebody pays for the premium service, that shows companies that are looking to hire that somebody's really seriously
Yeah,
looking. So that really makes a difference. And I'm sure, I don't know if I wouldn't say they sell your information. They have contracts where they get information, of people
yeah,
they want, and
yes,
obviously they're going to want to pull from people that paid for the premium
yes,
first.
yep.
So yeah,
You
cool
do get
stuff.
pushed in the front of the line, that's for
And
sure.
yeah, no, that's really great information, and great
Yeah,
information for students that are going to be looking for work here pretty quick that are currently in the boot camps. So that's awesome.
yep,
Now I do see a couple guitars behind you there.
yeah.
Industry previously,
Actually,
as
I
as you
actually have
stated.
10, so you only see two. Yeah, I'm actually
Um,
like right here. This is a stand for a studio microphone. I'm actually working on an album right now. I'm also a musician, so it's kind of what I do on my off time. And
okay, so
but,
you got
but
a
yeah,
lot of
I finally got a really nice
studio
studio
software.
microphone. I've been doing a lot of recording.
Yeah, no, that's cool, and that's another thing with technology, and that's with the music industry, and how
Yeah.
you can almost create like a full studio with the technology now, rather than have to
Oh
go to a
yeah.
studio.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, what I can record here sounds just as good as anything you'd spend thousands of dollars for in a studio. So
yeah,
definitely.
no, that's cool stuff. All right, so the attendees, you're welcome to ask questions in the chat, and the questions will go to the panelists here, and then we can forward the question to Will. We'll read it aloud for him. So if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat now. Will, he went through the journey of the boot camp, and he went through, going through and finding his first job, and then getting hired with Microsoft, which is great. Um, now you probably wouldn't, because they have tens of thousands of employees. But we've had a few other students hired by Microsoft too, and I'm just wondering if you ever connected with them at all when you were with Microsoft.
I actually, I there was a couple of people that I just randomly talked to because we were on a case together or something like that. But what I did notice is that in LinkedIn, I did see because sometimes I'd look up people I was working with and stuff like that, and I'd see what school they attended or whatever. And there at least one or two people that graduated from the Tech Academy that were working with Microsoft for sure.
Yeah,
But no one in my team, so it wasn't like I really got to talk about it.
yeah, yeah. It's a big company.
Yeah, definitely,
Lots and lots of teams.
definitely.
My brother's been there for 12 years now he's a senior developer,
Oh, cool.
and he uh he he likes it. It has been stressful for him at times.
Yeah,
But and he still does like the weekends. He does one weekend a month where he's on call.
yeah,
So
I
if
do that
somebody
too.
has a problem, yeah,
Yep.
if a company has a problem, or that kind of thing on a weekend, then or in the middle of the night, then he's gotta help them out.
Yeah, yeah. We have the same thing. Every 6 weeks, I'm on call for the weekend, but only during daytime. We have offshore that does on call in the evenings. So it's
Oh, okay.
9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for me, at least on the East Coast it is.
Okay. No, that's great. That's great. And,
Problems do
and
happen.
no, so Gab, I'm just wondering, or Gracie, do you have any questions for Will?
Right now, there are no questions from our participants, but maybe we can ask some like generic questions to Will. One of them being like, this is $1 million question, I think, for all the people who are thinking about attending a boot camp. So would you say that in this day and age, are boot camps like worth it to attend?
Oh, definitely worth every penny. It definitely. I I went from a person that, just knew a lot about or a little about a lot, and to actually being laser focused on a particular career path. And that was what I needed. That was the kind of the push I needed. Whereas it gave me direction, like I'm going to do this boot camp, I'm going to graduate, and I'm going to get a job doing this, right? And I didn't have that before. I was like, well, I'm not sure what I want to do. I don't know if I'm good enough at this and that and the other thing. And so, yeah, it was definitely worth it for me. Um, it was definitely just having that focus, I think, is the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway, and kind of, having a direction once you graduate in what you want to do. That's the most important part. But yeah, definitely worth it.
All right. And also, you've mentioned that you have attended another boot camp before you joined the Tech Academy, and for people who want to break into the tech industry, they usually try to search for these boot camps. So, what are your tips on these people who will? How will you find the best boot camp for you?
Well, the first one I did was just an online one. It was like a subscription service, and you just watch courses and take tests and things like that. Um, I don't know what the best way to find a boot camp, because honestly, like I said, the Tech Academy was across the street from my job, so it was kind of a shoe in. I never even really thought about doing like an actual like real boot camp up until that time, and then I just realized that, like, okay, yeah, this is like school, and I need to do it, and so I just lucked out by working across the street. But yeah, I mean, if you know what you want to do, then just I think what's helpful is finding something local. If there is in class stuff you can do, which you guys do. Unfortunately, it was during COVID, so I couldn't do any. There was no in class courses at all. So, and that would have been really cool. And if there was anything I think I could say I missed by doing the boot camp with you guys, was that I couldn't do any in class stuff. But obviously, none of us could, so we weren't leaving our house. So yeah, I think in class for certain people, like I'm a very visual learner, and I'm more focused when I'm around other people. So, that if that's your thing, then yeah, having an in class type of thing is definitely going to be better for you than doing just online. Luckily, I had nothing else to do, so I was very focused. There was nothing pulling my attention away. So it was, all I had to do was pay attention. It was great.
All right. If anyone does have a question, this is the last chance to throw it into the chat. So you can ask Will any questions. And like he said, he's gone through the boot camp, and he's been really successful. So you can ask him anything you want right now. And what would you say? So your job obviously is fully online.
Yeah, they're fully remote.
So yeah. And are there any things that are hindrances because of that for you?
No, actually, I took to it really well, because of course the Microsoft job was also remote. So I look at the benefits. The benefits are, I mean, I moved to the East Coast, so the hours are kind of screwy. I work noon to 9, because I technically work 9 to 6, but the company's on the West Coast. And so when I was on the West Coast, it was 9 to 6, but now I'm out here, it's noon to 9. So I work till 9 p.m. every day. But, the fact is that, like, last summer on the 4th of July, I took a trip up to New Hampshire, where I grew up, and I just grabbed my laptop and I just worked while I was up there. I spent 2 weeks up there. And so, I couldn't have done that if I was actually in a physical location kind of job. I would have to take all that time off, and I didn't even take the time off. I still worked every day. It was great, and I realized I was like, I could do that anywhere. I could go on a working vacation to Europe if I wanted to, as long as I had internet connection, I could work from anywhere. And so once I realized that, I started, the wheels started turning. I'm like, okay, what working vacation can I take next? But it's definitely a lot of advantages. A disadvantage would be that if you're the type of person that gets easily distracted at home, or you don't have that really that ability to push yourself, because there's no one looking over my shoulder, and there's no one keeping me in line. Like I have to literally manage my day and figure out what I'm going to do for the day and do it. And the results the results definitely, that's kind of all I have is results. So if I don't have any results, they're going to be like, what were you doing the last few days or whatever? So you have to be very self-disciplined to do a remote job. But I just jumped right in and just it's great. I love it. I just love the fact that I live in an apartment by myself. I have 2 dogs, and I just get to hang out with my dogs all day. They sit at my feet, or do whatever, or I can take breaks whenever I want. It's a lot of freedom that end. But like I said, you gotta be focused, because it's easy to get distracted if you don't. Especially me sitting in my actual recording studio / office. It's too easy to just pick up a
Yeah,
guitar and start playing.
yeah, a
But
little have some good jam sessions on your breaks.
yeah, right, definitely.
Well, no, that's cool stuff. And I mean, it's just changed with the technology jobs, uh, especially. It's really changed since COVID. And
Yes, definitely.
most technology workers are either working hybrid, or they are working fully
Yeah.
remote now.
Yeah, even if I
So
moved to California, they'd only have me hybrid. If I decided to move to LA near First
yeah,
American, that I think they're only requiring 2 days in a week, and the rest of the
yeah.
time at home or whatever. At least that's what most of my team does that live out in California, which is kind
Okay.
of the new
Yeah,
way. I think they just realized that remote workers are just happier people in general, and
yeah,
they're more productive, and
yeah,
and actually do better. They're happier employees, so I'm glad they
yeah.
figured that out. Because
Well, it does cut down on their overhead too. So
yeah,
companies can
yeah,
scale down their office space,
yes,
and that's one of the reasons commercial real estate is kind of in a downturn at the moment.
yep.
But no, that's cool
So
stuff.
I unfortunately have to go because I have to go back to work. Speaking
Yeah,
of that, my
I was
lunch.
just
I
yeah, I
was,
was
I was
just
talking to you on my lunch break. So
yeah, no, and we really appreciate that. And I was just going to wrap it up now.
oh, definitely.
But yeah, great story, and great job, great success going through the boot camp, finding your first job, and then going to work for the companies, and now you're with a company you really love. So that's awesome, and we are really happy for you.
Thank you.
And you gave some really good advice today for any students that are just finishing their boot camps, or when they do finish their boot camps. So we appreciate it, Will. Thank you, and
Thank you very much.
we will have you back at another time. Okay.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you guys.
All right. Thanks, Will. Have a good day.
All right, you as well. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right.
Thank you, Will.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.